Our attention now to a press conference that happened just a while ago, a major development involving the FBI, the NBA, and an illegal poker operation allegedly tied to the Mafia. Now there have been multiple NBA former players, a coach, and at least one active player arrested as a part of this investigation. And FBI Director Kash Patel held a press conference just moments ago detailing what led up to these arrests and what is being accused in this illegal operation they say has now led to the arrest of multiple people connected to the National Basketball Association. This just days after the league started its season. All right, let's go ahead and listen to that press conference that took place just moments ago.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joseph Nocella. I am the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. I'd like to welcome you here today. In addition, we have with us today FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Assistant Director in Charge Christopher Rea of the New York Field Office, Special Agent in Charge of the New York Field Office Leslie Bakshi's, New York Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Ricky Patel, Newark Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security, Michael McCarty, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny, and the Executive Director of the Waterfront Commission, Phoebe Sorrell. I'm now going to turn the podium over to FBI Director Kash Patel.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchesi crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime in the country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days,
Just bear with us here. I think this is a glitch with the actual recording from the stream actually that came from ABC. So this may happen one more time, but we'll keep it going.
And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Casa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where guard games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nocella. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patel. To be clear, we're announcing today indictments in two major cases, both involving fraud. One involves sports betting, and the other involves illegal gambling, very specifically rigged poker games. The first indictment involves 6 defendants who are alleged to have participated in one of the most brazen sports corruptions since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that. First, I would like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, DeNiro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jontay Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. Relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from others to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. What you see depicted on the screen right now is an example of the X-ray table that reveals the cards. Although they are face down on the table, they can be read because of the X-ray technology. The Mafia, specifically members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families, had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts. The defendants laundered their proceeds, including through cash exchanges, the use of multiple shell companies, and through cryptocurrency transfers. As part of the scheme, some of the defendants and their co-conspirators also committed acts of violence, including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine, and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts. Defendants who participated in the rigged poker scheme are charged with wire fraud conspiracy. Other defendants have been charged with crimes including illegal gambling, money laundering, Hobbs Act robbery, and extortions. This case demonstrates our office's unrelenting commitment to fighting the scourge of organized crime in whatever form it takes. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking the incredible hard work of our law enforcement partners, including the FBI, Homeland Security, the NYPD, and the Waterfront Commission. I also want to thank the dedicated prosecutors who built these two cases and who are standing to my right. Benjamin Weintraub, David Bourbon, Caitlin Farrell, Michael Gibaldi, Irisa Chen, and Sean Sherman. They had the assistance of paralegal specialists Liam McNett, John Schneider, Marlene Bosler. Also deserving of our thanks because of their outstanding investigative work on the NBA case are FBI Special Agents Russell Lantier, Dominic Mariani, Amy Giaroso, Shane Wilkins, and Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison. On the rigged poker game scheme, outstanding work was performed by FBI Special Agents Thomas Cribbin, Jeff Boriola, Jonathan Corona, Alexander Silverman, Amy Campanaro, and Supervisory Special Agent Michael Malahy, as well as NYPD Task Officer James McCullough, and from Homeland Security, Supervisory Special Agent Charles Freund, and from the Waterfront Commission, Detective Paul Shimborski. Finally, I want to note that the investigations in both cases are ongoing, and we encourage anyone with information about either scheme to please contact the FBI. Now I would like to turn the podium over to Special Agent in charge of the New York Field Field Office of the FBI, Christopher Rea. Chris?
All right, thank you, Joe. As always, we appreciate the partnership here. Can't do any of this without you and your team, so thank you. Also want to publicly thank the director for coming down from D.C. The director's a very busy person, and for him to come down should tell you the importance of this historic case. I'm Christopher Rea, the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office. Today, as you've heard, our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from 2 indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in 2 separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor. Among these defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. 3 of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York. Let me be clear about this fact. The FBI has not and will never take their eye off the ball when it comes to Italian organized crime in this city, specifically the LCN and the 5 families here in New York. We are not going to permit any criminal enterprise, whether it be Italian organized crime, Asian organized crime, Eurasian organized crime. We are not going to permit any of those organized crimes, families, and organizations to operate in our city or our country, as evidenced by the 11 states that were also participating in this operation today. The FBI office here in New York remains committed to eradicating all unlawful revenue streams fueling this criminal activity. As with most cases we work, this is only the tip of the iceberg for the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our LCN squad agents and analysts are continuing to work day and night with the Eastern District of New York to ensure members and associates of the 5 families cannot continue to wreak havoc in our communities. Today would not have been possible without the tireless efforts and dedication of the FBI New York Eurasian Organized Crime Task Force, which, as you heard, was led by Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison, and the Italian Organized Task Force, which was led by Supervisory Special Agent Mike Malahi. And coincidentally, Supervisory Special Agent Malahi is going out on a positive as he is retiring at the end of this month for 30 years of dedicated service to the FBI, and that deserves a hand. He's what we call a legend here at FBI New York.
Wow. An indictment there that features multiple NBA players, coaches, in ties with sports betting, illegal sports betting, and illegal gambling. So we are listening there to members of the FBI and prosecutors who have linked and now arrested multiple individuals, including current player for the Miami Heat, Terry Rozier. He's been arrested as a part of a case that involves sports betting with NBA players and people that have inside information. Okay, so just to kind of give a little bit of info into that particular case, apparently what they're saying that took place here, that he was a part of a case in which there would be players who would give information to bettors, and basically it seems like throughout the game they would do things that would impact whether or not those bettors could make whole. Now, they tied this to a previous case. You may have heard the name Jonte Porter. Jonte Porter pleaded guilty not long ago. His sentencing is set for December of this year. He's a former NBA player for Toronto who has now been banned from the NBA because he admitted to investigators that he would contact bettors and then he would have them place certain prop bets on him. That basically he would do an under, right? So that he would not perform to the level in which the bets were set for him, and then he would play like he was injured or he would get sick. That way he would underperform, and those who betted for that would be able to make money. Okay, he's already been arrested and convicted and is set for a sentencing in December. They are linking the case that now involves a current NBA player, Terry Rozier, who plays for the Miami Heat. He literally dressed for the team yesterday, was arrested after their game in Orlando. And they are linking that to former NBA player of the Cleveland Cavaliers, amongst one of the team, and also, I believe, played for the Miami Heat at one point, now a coach, Damon Jones. They've been linked to that investigation, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot from the NBA in that. In the other case, these are two separate cases. We're talking about illegal gambling. In this case, the person of note that they mentioned has been arrested as part of this illegal gambling operation that they tied to the Mafia is Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is a 17-year career basketball player. You may have most notably known him for playing with the Detroit Pistons, where he won a championship in 2004, was the NBA Finals MVP that year. Well, he's also in the National Basketball Association or the Naismith, I'm sorry, Basketball Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame back in 2024, just 2 years ago. Now, since 2021, he has been the coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, which he still is, at least as of right now. He was arrested as a part of this operation in which they say they were cheating victims in this illegal gambling operation. Again, that was tied, they say, to the Mafia, that they had a whole operation that they were doing in order to be able to cheat the system, cheating victims, you heard there from that prosecutor, out of tens of millions of dollars. It does appear that this case dates back before Chauncey Billups became a coach. You could hear from the prosecutor there saying that at the time, Chauncey Billups was a player. So not quite sure of the timeline, but we do know this investigation has been years in the making. So 2 separate cases, both of them involving illegal activity of sports betting of some kind or gambling that has led to the arrest of well-known NBA players and former players. It'll be interesting to hear what the NBA has to say about that. Matter of fact, let me take a quick moment and see if we have any kind of release from the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver. See if there's any kind of info that is coming up at the moment. Now, what's interesting about Terry Rozier, I know you got some video of him, Sarah. He was actually investigated by the NBA within the last 2 years, in 2023, where he was accused then of this kind of activity. There was a particular game that year in which people who were placing bets and got really confused about his performance one day. That got all the way up to the chains of the NBA. At the time, his agent said that after conversations with the NBA and the FBI, that he was found that he had done nothing wrong. Well, now it appears the FBI has continued that investigation, and he has been arrested as a part of this. Well, let's see if we can get something from the NBA, any kind of statement. I'm not quite seeing anything from them. Let's see. I'm not seeing a statement right now. Sarah, I don't know if you are finding anything, but I'm sure at some point the National Basketball Association and its commissioner, Adam Silver, will be releasing something in regards to one of its head coaches and one of its players on one of its marquee ball clubs in the league. But fascinating developments there that I'm sure we're going to continue to follow. We just wanted to play that because we know there are a lot of people who are going to be interested. The NBA season, by the way, literally just kicked off this week.